me ask you something real quick. Have you ever spent money just to feel better and then felt worse after? Stay with me because this episode might change the way you look at money completely. What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Influence Exchange. As always, thank you for pressing play, thank you for watching on YouTube, and thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you're tuning in from. I don't take your time lightly, and I truly appreciate you being here with me. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm your host, JV, and this podcast is about real conversation, not perfect ones. We talk about growth, self-awareness, leadership, mindset, and everyday decisions that shape the direction of your life. No hype, no pretending, just honest perspective and real life reflection. Today's episode is called Wealth Isn't Just Money, it's How You Think, Live, and Decide. Now, when people hear the word wealth, the first thing that usually comes to mind is money, income, savings, investments, lifestyles. And yes, money is part of wealth. It matters. It creates options. It creates freedom. But here's the truth most people overlook. You can have money and still feel broke. You can earn more and still struggle financially. You can build income and still lack control over your life. Because real wealth isn't just about what's in your bank account. It's about how you think, how you make decisions, how you manage your time, how you handle pressure, and how you show up consistently. Let me say this simply. Wealth is not something you accidentally fall into. It's something you train yourself for over time. And that training doesn't start with money. It starts with awareness. It starts with your habits. It starts with the way you think when no one is watching. Think about it like this. Two people can make the same amount of money. One builds stability, discipline, and long-term growth. The other stays stuck in stress, short-term decisions, and consistent pressure. Same income, completely different outcomes. And why is that? Because wealth is built through behavior, not just opportunity. In today's episode, we're going to break this down in a way that's simple and real. We are going to talk about what wealth actually means behind money, the habits and patterns that quickly keep people stuck, how your mindset shapes your financial reality, and how to start training yourself for wealth without pressure or perfection. This episode is not about getting rich quick. It's about complex strategies. And it's not about comparing yourself to anyone else. It's about understanding the foundation. Because once you understand how wealth actually works, internally and externally, you start making different decisions. And those decisions add up. So whether you're driving, walking, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself, please stay with me. Take a breath and let's talk about it. All right, my friends, let's start here. Because before we talk about building wealth, we need to understand what wealth actually is. And most people get this part wrong. When you hear the word wealth, what comes to mind? Money, income, savings, investment, nice house, nice car. And yes, money is part of wealth. Let's not ignore that. Money matters. It creates opportunities. It gives you options. It can reduce stress. But here's the truth. Wealth is bigger than money. And if you only focus on money, you can still end up feeling like something is missing. Let me keep this simple. Real wealth isn't just money, it's how you live your life. It's having control over your time, not feeling like every minute of your day belongs to something or someone else. It's being able to slow down when you need it, being present for your family, being able to step away without everything falling apart. That's real wealth. Real wealth also means having peace of mind, not consistently worrying about money, not feeling stressed every time a bill shows up, not living in consistent pressure, anxiety, or fear. Because the truth is, you can have money and still feel overwhelmed every day. And that's not real wealth. Real wealth is having the ability to choose, to say yes or no without feeling stuck. It shows up in your career, your lifestyle, and your decisions. When you have options, you're not forced into situations. You're choosing your direction. That's wealth. And real wealth is feeling like you have control over your direction, not feeling stuck, not feeling like life is constantly happening to you. Instead, it's knowing I have a say in this. I can adjust when I need to. I can move differently if I choose to. That sense of control, that's real wealth. Now, let me share something important. You can have money and still feel empty inside. You can earn a good income and still feel stressed. You can have nice things and still feel unfulfilled. You can look successful on the outside and still feel off on the inside. Because if your habits, mindset, and decisions aren't aligned, money alone won't fix that. And here's the key idea to remember. Money doesn't change who you are, it reveals and amplifies it. If you're disciplined, money strengthens that. If you're impulsive, it magnifies that too. If you're clear and intentional, money supports it. If you're stressed and reactive, money won't remove it, it can actually make it more noticeable. That is where the mindset needs to shift. Instead of asking, how do I make more money? Start asking, how do I build a life that can handle wealth? Because wealth isn't just about earning, it's about how you think, how you manage, how you respond, and how you live day to day. Let me pause and ask you something simple. When you think about wealth, are you only thinking about money, or are you also thinking about your time, your peace, your freedom, and your ability to choose? Because how you define wealth will shape how you go after it. Now that we're defined what wealth really is, let's talk about why so many people struggle to build it in the first place. Stay with me. All right, my friends, let's slow this down for a moment. Because before we talk about building wealth, we need to understand why so many people struggle with it in the first place. And this is important. Most people don't struggle with wealth because they're not smart enough. They don't struggle because they don't work hard enough. They struggle because of patterns. Quick patterns, repeated patterns, unnoticed patterns. And over time, those patterns shape their reality. Let's start with this short term thinking. This is one of the biggest challenges. We live in the fast paced world, fast results, fast money, fast decisions. So it's easy to start thinking short term. What feels good right now? What can I get today? What fixes this moment? But wealth doesn't work that way. It's built through patience, consistency, and long term decisions. When you keep choosing short term comfort, you end up delaying long term progress. Now let's talk about emotional spending. This affects a lot of people. Spending isn't always about what you need, it's often about how you feel. You had a long day, you spend. You're stressed, you spend. You're bored, you spend. You want to reward yourself, you spend. And in the moment, it feels good. But here's the challenge when you're spending, it's driven by emotion. Your money starts to feel out of control because emotions change all the time. Building wealth requires awareness, not reaction. Let's dive into discipline. And to be clear, this isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. A lot of people know what they should do save more, spend less, learn more, invest wisely. But knowing and doing are not the same. Discipline is what connects the two. It's choosing action that may not feel good right now, but benefit you in the long run. Without the consistency, progress becomes unpredictable. Now let's talk about something important your environment. The people around you influence you more than you may realize. The conversations you hear, the habits you see, and the mindset you're exposed to all shape how you think about money. If you're constantly around people who don't plan, don't save, don't grow, or don't think long term, that behavior starts to feel normal. Not because it's right, but because it's familiar. And most people don't question what feels normal. Now let's talk about beliefs. This is where everything begins. Before money shows up in your life, your beliefs about it are already in place. Thoughts like money is hard to make, rich people are different, that's not for me, I will never get there. You might not say them out loud, but even thinking them quietly shapes your decisions. They influence what you go after, what you avoid, and what you believe is possible. Over time, those beliefs start to become your reality. Let me bring this all together. People don't wake up and decide, I'm going to struggle or I'm going to stay broke. That's not how it happens. It's much more subtle. They keep thinking short term, they keep spending based on emotion, they avoid discipline, they stay in the same environment, they never question their beliefs, and over time, those small patterns turn into a way of life. Here's a simple moment of honesty. Ask yourself, where do I see myself in this? Is it how I think, how I spend, my habits, my environment, or the beliefs I've never questioned? No judgment, just awareness. Because once you recognize the pattern, you give yourself the chance to change it. And that's exactly where we are going to next. Not just understanding the problem, but learning how to train yourself differently. Stay with me. All right, my friends, this is where we bring it all together. Because now that we understand what wealth really is and why people struggle with it, the real question becomes, how do you actually train yourself for wealth? And I want to be clear about something from the start. Wealth is not something you hope for, it's something you train for. Just like anything else in life, you don't accidentally get in shape, you don't accidentally become disciplined, and you don't accidentally build wealth. It comes from what you do consistently. So let's break this down in a simple but real way. Number one, how you think. Everything starts here. Before money shows up, before opportunities show up, your thinking is already shaping your direction. Let's start with long term versus short term thinking. Most people make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. What do I want today? What's easier right now? What feels good right now? But wealth comes from asking a different question. What will matter later? That one shift can change everything. Now let's talk about delayed gratification. This is a big one. Can you say no now so you can have more later? Can you pass on the quick reward for a better outcome down the road? Because wealth isn't built in big moments, it's built in small decisions like saving instead of spending, learning instead of scrolling on your phone, staying consistent instead of giving up. And then there's discipline over emotion. There will be days when you don't feel like doing what's right. You won't feel like saving, you won't feel like learning, you won't feel like staying consistent. But discipline says, I'm going to do it anyway. And over time, that consistency builds stability. Number two, how you spend. Let's keep this simple. Every time you spend money, you're making a choice. And whether you realize it or not, your spending reflects your habits and your priorities. So here's a question to think about. Are you spending for comfort or for growth? I will repeat that. Are you spending for comfort or for growth? There is a difference. Comfort looks like impulsive purchases, things that feel good in the moment, and quick satisfaction. Growth looks like investing in yourself, using tools that help you improve, and making choices that move your life forward. Now, this isn't about being extreme. You should enjoy your money. This is about being aware. Because if you're always spending without thinking, you're not in control, your habits are. So you start paying attention. Where is your money going? What patterns do you notice? What keeps repeating? Because awareness is where change starts. Number three, how you invest time and money. This is where the difference starts to show. Wealth isn't just about how you spend, it's about how you invest. Let's start with your time. Where your time goes, your life follows. Are you spending your time scrolling on your cell phone constantly, avoiding and staying comfortable? Or are you investing your time in learning, building, growing, and developing skills? Now let's talk about skills and knowledge. Skills create value, and value creates opportunity. The more you learn, the more you can do. The more you can do, the more options you create for yourself. And then there are opportunities. They don't just show up randomly, they appear when you're prepared, when you've put in the time, built the skills, and stayed consistent, and that's when doors begin to open. Number four, your environment. This one is powerful and often overlooked. Who are you around matters. What you hear matters. What you see matters. The conversations you're part of matter. If you're constantly around people who think small, avoid growth, don't plan, don't take action, that becomes your normal. But when you're around people who think differently, move with intention, talk about growth, and challenge themselves, your standards begin to rise. And let me be clear, your environment doesn't just influence you, it shapes you. And sometimes growth requires adjusting. Who you listen to, what you consume, and the conversations you allow into your space. Now let's bring this all together. Here's the key idea to remember. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. You can have big goals and big plans, but if your habits don't support them, nothing will change. So instead of only thinking, I want more money, start asking, how can I think differently? How can I spend differently? How can I use my time better? What habits am I building every day? Because wealth isn't built in one big decision, it's built in what you do constantly, day after day. And here's the good news, you don't have to change everything at once. You just have to start noticing and adjusting one decision at a time. Now that we've talked about how to build the mindset for wealth, let's bring this into real life with simple steps you can start using today. Stay with me. All right, my friends, let's bring this into real life because everything we've talked about so far means nothing if it doesn't turn into action. And I'm not here to overwhelm you. This isn't about doing everything at once. This isn't about being perfect. This is about awareness and small adjustments. That's it. Track where your money goes. Let's start simple. For most people, it's not a money problem, it's an awareness problem. They don't really know where their money is going, how often they're spending, or what patterns they're repeating. So here's a simple step. For the next 7 days, just pay attention. With no judgment, no pressure, just observe. Every time you spend money, pause and ask, what am I doing right now? That alone can be eye-opening because once you see your patterns, you can start to change them. Pause before you spend. This one matters. Most unnecessary spending happens in the moment. It's quick, emotional, and unplanned. So instead of reacting, create a pause. Before you buy something, ask yourself, do I really need this or do I just want it right now? And if you're unsure, wait. Give it 24 hours. You'll be surprised how many things stop feeling important once the moment passes. Learn before you earn more. A lot of people believe if I just made more money, everything would improve. But that's not always the case. If your habits stay the same, more money can actually create bigger problems. So instead of only focusing on earning more, focus on learning first. Learn how to manage your money, how to think long term, and how to make better decisions. Because when you build a strong foundation, money becomes a tool that works for you, not something that works against you. Focus on consistency, not intensity. This is where many people get stuck. They go all in for short term, try to change everything at once, and then fall off. But that's not how progress works. Wealth isn't built in big bursts, it's built through small, consistent actions repeated over time. So instead of asking, how can I do everything perfectly? Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do consistently? It could be checking your spending, saving a small amount, learning something new, or making one better decision each day. Small actions done consistently create real lasting change. Make decisions your future self would respect. This one matters. Every decision you make today either moves you forward or keeps you where you are. So here's a simple shift. Before you decide, ask yourself, will my future self thank me for this or regret it? Not tomorrow, not next week, but months, even years from now. Because real progress comes from thinking beyond the moment, from making choices that may not feel great right now, but create something better over time. Now let's bring this all together. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everything figured out. You don't need to change your life overnight. You need awareness. You need intention. You need small, consistent adjustments because in the end, wealth isn't built in one big decision. It's built in small choices you make every single day. So here's something simple you can do starting today. Pick one habit from the list, just one. Focus on it. Stay consistent. Built from there. With no pressure, no perfection, just progress. And if you catch yourself thinking, yeah, I need to hear this, that's a good sign. It means you're paying attention. All right, let's finish this strong. All right, my friends, let's slow this down before we close. If you take one thing from today's episode, let it be this. Wealth isn't just about money, it's about how you think, how you live, and the decisions you make every day. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start becoming more aware of your habits and make small adjustments that move you forward. Before I go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening wherever you are. I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here. And if something in this episode connected with you, if you're working on your mindset, your habits, your growth, or you have a story or experience you like to share, I would love to have you on the podcast. You can reach me by sending me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange or use the fan mail link in the episode description. If you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, follow the podcast, leave a review. It helps grow the podcast and reach more people who need these conversations. And remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others. Thank you for watching and listening. Congratulations to everyone. Let's keep it moving.